George Harrison with Howard Smith.
You've been in New York since what, Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday afternoon.
How much longer are you going to be here?
Just till next Monday.
And then you're going back to London?
Yeah, right. Well, home, which is just outside of London.
What have you been doing?
A bit of business, really. I came to see our new office, 1700 Broadway. And just a few, little things to do with business. Also to see a few friends and to pick up my visa. It's the first time I had a visa for 18 months, so I had to use it,
Are you going to be doing any recording while you're in town?
No. Well, I can't work, not that sort of work. I'd need a different visa and, all that sort of thing. Anyway, there's not enough time to record. But I'm going to be recording in about 3 weeks. I'm going to start an album of my own as Ringo and Paul. This is going to be the George album. And start that in 3 to 4 weeks' time. I hope to do it with Phil Spector.
We're in London?
Yeah.
Have you written the material already?
Yeah, I've had songs for a long time and lots of new songs. I've got about enough songs for 3 or 4 albums, actually. But if I do one, that'll be good enough for me.
I didn't know that you were that prolific as a writer because there's so few of your songs on Beatles albums.
Yeah, well, I wrote some songs. In fact, some songs which I feel are quite nice, which I'll use on this album. I wrote about 4 years ago. But it was more difficult for me then to, get in there, to do it. It was the way the Beatles took off with Paul and John's songs, and it made it very difficult for me to get in. And also, I suppose at that time I didn't have as much confidence when it came down to pushing my own material as I have now. So it took a while, I think I did write one song on about the second album, and I left it, didn't write anymore. That was just an exercise to see if I could write. 2 years later, I recorded a couple more songs, I think Rubber Soul. And then I've had 1 or 2 songs on each album. Well, there were 4 songs of mine on the double white album. But now I'm, the output of songs is too much to be able to just sit around, waiting to put 2 songs on an album. I've got to get them out,
How was it decided how many songs you would have on a Beatles album? Is it like just who pushed and shoved the hardest?
It was whoever would be the heaviest would get the most songs done, so consequently I couldn't be bothered pushing like that much. Even on Abbey Road, for instance, we'd record about 8 tracks before I got round to doing one of mine. Because, you say, well, I've got a song, and then with Paul, well, I've got a song as well. And mine goes like this, and away you go. It was just difficult to get in there. And I wasn't going to, push and shout, but it was just over the last year or so we'd worked something out, which was still a joke, really. 3 songs for me, 3 songs for Paul, 3 songs for John, and 2 for Ringo. But that is the main problem, you see, because
why did Ringo only get 2?
Well, because that's fair, isn't it? That's what you call being fair. No, but even Ringo, you see, is writing more songs. We just cut a track in London, of Ringo's song called It Don't Come Easy, it's called, and so maybe put that out as a single. But Paul and John and myself have got just so many songs. I think this is a good way, if we do our own albums. That way we don't have to compromise. I mean, we lose whatever we get from each other. We sacrifice that in order to, do total sort of thing, Because in a way, Paul wants to do his songs his way. He doesn't want to do his songs my way. And I don't want to do my songs their way, really. And I'm sure that after we've all completed an album, or even 2 albums each, then that novelty will have worn off.
Okay, that was the first little section. You're listening to W.
You think the Beatles will get together again then?
Well, I couldn't tell, if they do or not. I'll certainly try my best to do something with them again, I mean, it's only a matter of accepting that that situation is a compromise. In a way, it's a compromise. And it's a sacrifice, because we all have to sacrifice a little in order to gain something really big. And there is a big gain by recording together, I think musically and financially and also spiritually and stuff. And lately with Paul, everything that they've thought or said has come out, to the public. It's been printed, it's been there for everybody to read or to comment about or to join in on.
But the things they had feelings have been there all along?
No, I wouldn't say that. In different ways, like we're just like anybody else. There's familiarity breeds contempt, they do say. And we've had slight problems. But it's only been recently, because we didn't work together for such a long time in the Yoko and John situation, and then Paul and Linda. But it's not as bad as it seems, Like, we're all having a good time individually, and...
There seems like such animosity between Paul and...
Yeah.
You three. I mean, it sounds like he is saying it's all over.
But it's more of a personal thing, That's down to the management situation, with Apple, because Paul really, it was his idea to do Apple. And once it started going, Paul was very active in there. And then it got really chaotic, and we had to do something about it. When we started doing something about it, obviously Paul didn't have as much say in the matter. And then he decided, because he wanted Lee Eastman, his in-laws to run it, and we didn't, then that's the only reason, that's the whole basis. But that's only a personal problem that he'll have to get over, because that's the reality is that, he's outvoted, and, we're a partnership. We got these companies which we all own 25% of each. And if there's a decision to be made, then like in any other business or group, you have a vote, and he was outvoted 3-1, and if he doesn't like it, it's really a pity, because we're trying to do what's best for the Beatles as a group or best for Apple as a company. We're not trying to do what's best for Paul and his in-laws,
Do you think that's what the key fight is over?
Yeah, because it's on such a personal level that it is, a big problem, really. You imagine that situation if you were married and you wanted your in-laws to handle certain things. It's a difficult one to overcome because, well, you can think of the subtleties,
But the East...
Because he's really living with it like that. You see, when I go home at night, I'm not living there with Alan Klein, whereas in a way, Paul's living with the Eastmans. You see, and so it's not really between Paul and us, it's between Paul's advisors, who are the Eastmans, and our business advisors, which is Alan Klein. But it's all right.
I don't know. I'm not as optimistic.
It's all right. All things pass away, as they say.
I don't know. I somewhat detected some kind of animosity between Yoko and Linda. Is that part of what it's about?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think about it, I refuse to be a part of any hassles like that. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, and it'll all be okay, Just give them time, because they do really love each other, I mean, we all do. We've been so close and through so much together. that it really, to talk about it like this, you know, we never get any nearer to it. But the main thing is there's, like in anybody's life, they have slight problems. And it's just that our problems are always blown up and, you know, shown to everybody. But it's not really, you know, it's not a problem. It's only a problem if you think about it.
So you don't think there's any great anger between Paul and John?
No, I think there may be what you'd term a little bitchiness. But, you know, that's all it is. It's just being bitchy to each other, you know. Childish. But I get on well with Ringo and John, and I try my best to get on well with Paul. And, but, you know, there's nothing much more that we can, it's just a matter of time, you know, just for everybody to work out their own problems. And once they've done that, you know, I'm sure we'll get back round the cycle again. But if not, you know, it's still all right. Whatever happens, you know, it's going to be okay. In fact, it's never looked better from my point of view. It's really, you know, it's very good now, in very good shape. The companies are in great shape. Apple Films, Apple Records. My song company is in good shape because I've been more productive over the last year or so. It's really good. We got back a lot of money that a lot of people had that was ours. A lot of percents that different people had. And it's really
Would a Klein do all of that for you? Were you really that
Klein.
broke, or were all of you just crying poor?
We weren't broke. We'd earned a lot of money, but we didn't actually have the money that we'd earned, you know. It was floating around because the contracts, the structure of everything, you know, right back, that's really the history since 1962, the way everything was structured was just freaky, you know. None of us knew anything about it. We just spend money when we wanted to spend money, but we didn't know where we were spending it from or if we paid taxes on it. You know, we were really in bad shape as far as that was concerned because none of us really could be bothered. We just felt as though we were rich because really we were rich by what we sold and what we did. But it wasn't really the case, you know, because it was so untogether, the business side of it. But now it's very together, and we know exactly where everything is, and there's daily reports on where it is and what it is and how much it is. And it's really good.
What do you want to do with all your money? I just saw one of the reports, the daily reports, and you've got a lot of money.
Well, I just want to live as comfortably as I can, or as I need, which is really very comfortable, I can tell you. And, you know, money is to be used, you know, I try and help different things, you know, that I believe in. But I don't believe in just giving my money away now, like Peter Green, you know, he's suddenly gone through this thing where he wants to be Christian and stuff and give away his money and not have money, which, you know, is very good. But I'd rather keep my money and make it into more money until I've got so much money and then give it all away. But that's not for a few years. I'd much rather buy something with the money, like buy a house and fill it full of people doing something good and then give that away, you know, rather than just give people dollars.
Do you give away much money now, though? I mean,
Well, compared to the amount of money I earn, I don't suppose I give away much, but compared to just in money, I give away quite a bit. I mean, not for any particular, you know, reason, just I give it if I think somebody needs it, you know, or deserves it for something. And on occasion, I give, at random, I give money to, like, people who send awful letters. You know, there was a letter the other week, it was just pitiful, you know. And I sent, whoever it was I sent money to, I don't know who it was. It could have just been somebody trying to con me. But, you know, from just reading that letter,
what was
the
it?
least I could do, just somebody who's lived all his life and his father and them had all died and we looked after them for 30 years and he only had a can of beans for his dinner and he needs a Mac and a hat. You know, just one of those things, but it was heavy, you know, it was such a heavy letter that it was worth risking it being just some guy, you know, hoping to make a quick buck or two. It was worth that, you know, just in case it was as pathetic a situation as it appeared. But, you know, I mean, it doesn't particularly make me feel good, you know, to be able to do that. But on occasion I do that, and on occasion I give a bit of money to people if they're trying to do something which, you know, and this is not Apple. I mean, Apple in the beginning started off like that, as if we were just going to give anybody money to do whatever they were going to do groovy. Well, I don't do anything like that through Apple. I mean, if I suddenly have a desire to give somebody money for some cause, then I'll just give it out of my own pocket, you know, I won't involve Apple with it.
What is your mail like? Is it primarily people asking for things?
No. Oh, yes, definitely, you know. Just lately it's been, I'd like to be your gardener, but, you know, like 10 gardeners a day, and I'd like to be the resident psychologist, as if everybody has a psychologist living in. And all sorts of insanity. You know, I try not to read it, really.
What do you get, like huge stacks every day?
I suppose so, yeah. No, you know, there's quite a lot. There's enough letters to make it uninteresting.
On the new album that you mentioned that you're going to be recording, what kind of, you know, instrumentation are you going to be doing on it?
Well, it
Is it
really
going to be you
depends.
playing all the instruments?
No. I'd much rather play with other people, you know, because united we stand, divided we fall. I think musically it can sound much more together if you have a bass player, drummer, and you know, a few friends, a little help from your friends. And so the songs, it depends really on how I see the arrangements. Some songs maybe I'll do one or two just with acoustic guitars or something, but it's really down to how I see the song should be interpreted. But I really want to use as much instrumentation as I think the songs need, you know. Some will have orchestras and some will have rock and roll and some will have trumpets, you know, whatever. It'll be a production album as opposed to down home, you know, on my Niagara.
And how long do you think it's going to take you to, you know, do that whole album?
Well, I could do it in about 5 weeks, I suppose, or 6 weeks. I want to do 12 titles. If I did 6 weeks, 12 titles, that's 2 a week. That's pretty good, because I'm only working 5 days a week. So that's 2.5 days to work it out routinely, put it down and overdub and remix it. Maybe take 2 months at the most.
Have you gone over all the material with Phil Spector already, or not?
No. I sang him a couple of the songs. I sang him a lot of songs that I had. But at that time I hadn't decided really that I was doing an album. Now, I knew I'd do one eventually, but I hadn't decided to do it this soon. And it was only after that, you know, I decided I'd do it straight away. So now I've got to meet with Phil and decide really which tunes. You know, I've got an idea which ones I'd like to use.
I guess you've heard Paul's album.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I thought maybe I'm amazed, and let's see. That would be something, and maybe I'm amazed, I think, are great. And everything else, I think, is fair, is quite good. But a little disappointing. But I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be disappointed. Maybe I shouldn't, it's best not to expect anything, then everything's bonus, I think those two tracks in particular are really very good. And the others just don't do much for me. Because, I can hear other people play better drums and guitars and things. And the arrangements of, like, some of these songs, like Teddy Boy and Junk and stuff, with a little bit more arrangement, they could have sounded better.
Yeah, I wonder
But
why
it's a
he did it
matter of
this way.
taste, Well, it's just where he is at the moment, He's isolated himself from us, which is really his own doing, which is what we talked about because of the business thing, because us three chose to have Alan Klein manage Apple. So he isolated himself from us, and I suppose it was the only thing he felt he could do at the time, and he started off just tested his machine. Eddie Cochran did something like that though, didn't he? Summertime Blues and Come On Everybody, he played bass, guitar, drums.
Yeah, I wonder whether it could ever work again.
Well,
though.
did you like the album?
No, I didn't very much. I was very disappointed also. And I happen to have also liked the cuts that you liked. But the ones I didn't like very much. I was overly disappointed.
Yeah. You heard Eric Clapton's album?
No.
Now that's good. I just heard that last week. He did an album with Delaney and Bonnie. And I got his album the same time I got Paul's album.
Oh wait, I did hear that one. Yeah, I thought you meant some other one other than that.
It's not the Delaney album. He did his own album after they'd done that Delaney tour. So it's only just remixed just a couple of weeks ago.
Oh. So I wonder whether it can work again. With you guys, with Paul having gone off and done that kind of album and everything, and the way you used to decide how to get songs on the album, which one of you, I find it just very hard to imagine you all staying in a studio again for the months that it takes to produce the record, and how are you going to just work it all out?
Well, it's easy. It's really quite easy. It's easy. We've done it for years. We all know that we're all separate individuals. And if all we have to do is accept that we're all individuals and that we all have as much potential as the other, and having accepted that, then, it says, scan not a friend with microscopic glass. You know his faults, then let his foibles pass. That's written on my house. You know what I mean? It's like, if we were all perfected beings, we wouldn't be here in the physical world. The fact that we're all here in these bodies means that we're not perfected. So, having accepted we're not perfected, we can allow for each other's inadequacies or failings with a little, with a little compassion. I'm certainly ready to be able to, to try and work things out with whoever I'm with, But if whoever I'm with is full of hassles, then I'm not going to be with him, am I? I'm going to go with somebody else. That's really how things happen for me, when I got tired of being with the Beatles because musically, it was like being in a bag, you know, and they wouldn't let me out the bag. Really, which was mainly Paul at that time, you know, the conflict musically for me was Paul. And yet I could play with any other band or musician and, you know, have a reasonably good time.
What was the conflict with Paul? I don't understand.
Well, it's just a thing like, you know, he'd written all these songs for years and stuff, and Paul and I went to school together, you know. I got the feeling that, you know, everybody changes, and sometimes people don't want other people to change, or they, even if you do change, they won't accept that you've changed, and they keep in their mind some other image of you, you know. Gandhi said, create and preserve the image of your choice. And so different people have different images of their friends or people they see.
And so what was his image of you?
Well, I got the impression it was like he still acted as if he was the groovy, you know, Lennon-McCartney. Because there was a point in my life where I realized anybody can be Lennon-McCartney, you know, because being part of Lennon-McCartney, really, I could see that, you know, I could appreciate them, how good they actually are, and at the same time I could see the infatuation that the public had, or that the praise that was put on them. And I could see everybody's a Lennon-McCartney if that's what you want to be. But, you know, I don't know if I'm explaining. The point is that, you know, there's nobody special. There's not many special people, you know, around. And if somebody else, if Lennon and McCartney are special, then Harrison and Starkey are special too. You know, that's really what I'm saying, is that I can be Lennon and McCartney too, but I'd rather be Harrison, you know.
Hey, are you interested in doing other things other than recording now?
Just composing and recording and trying to get myself straight. I mean, the only purpose for being alive is to get yourself straight. Each soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest that divinity. And you know, what I believe is, you know, that liberation, you know, that's really what I want to do, is liberate myself from this chaos and of this body. I want to be free of my body, you know. I want to be God conscious. That's really my only ambition, and incidental is everything else. So I want to stay home, and maybe some of the time, and so some of the time I'll write and record. And
are you still into the whole meditation scene? And
well, yes, but it sort of shifts slightly, you know. I mean, I have more understanding about it. I still believe 100% in what we were doing in Rishikesh and in Maharishi, what he was saying. But there's also, you know, many methods, and I have touched on different areas, you know. I mean, it's the same with that Krishna consciousness. I mean, that's what I was really doing, trying to help that society with Krishna consciousness through their music, because it's called Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti, which is devotional, you know, the Krishna conscious people. So I was trying to help them with their records, and there's this new record that's out now, Govinda. Govinda is Krishna also, and wanted to try and help them, at the same time help a few other people who will be able to hear the music. And I mean, there are people out in the world there who this music means something to. I know it's not like, maybe it's not going to crash into the top 10 or something, or maybe you're not going to play it on the soul stations and stuff, but it's more soulful than any soul music.
Are you going to be doing more of that kind of record?
Yes, definitely, because it gives back, you know, so much. It's like, this is really where I disagreed with John, because the way he was doing like the peace thing, I agree with peace, you know, I want peace too. But I don't think you get peace by going around shouting, give peace a chance, man. You know, that doesn't give you, that doesn't do it, you know. Put your own house in order. For a forest to be green, each tree must be green. And you don't get peace by talking about peace. You don't get any sort of peace until you stop talking. Really stop talking, and you're more on the road to peace. And I'd much rather, I mean, the difference between peace is a very subtle thing, really. And it's a very gross thing to go talking about peace on the radio and stuff. You know, it's really so far away from it. The moment you talk about it, you know, you lose the point of it. And I'd much rather try and do it how I see it, you know, which is try and get myself together. And at the same time, if I can lay something on somebody in the form of music.
It just seems like a much slower way, less direct. I think what Lennon's trying to do is somehow find a quicker way of getting peace. I'm not saying his method would work.
No, but it's like it's like taking a pill. Isn't it? It's like acid, you know, people took acid in order to have some higher state of consciousness.